Commander Zixthala stretched her forearms and looked at the star map floating in front of her. The blue lights showed the outer edge of known space. Her job was simple but boring. She had to check old star systems and update the maps. Most of these places were empty or too dangerous to visit. Her ship, the Silent Wind, was small but fast. It had the best sensors the Galactic Confederation could build. Today she was heading to a system called Kepler 442. The record said it was a dead zone. 3 different alien races had tried to make the planets livable, but they all failed. The reports said the soil was poison, the air was wrong, and the whole system was a waste of time. "Captain," said her pilot, a young Taraxian named Court. His green skin was turning purple, which meant he was nervous. "We are getting close to the Kepler system. Should I prepare the long-range scans?" Zixthala nodded. "Yes, but keep us far away. The old reports mention some kind of radiation that damages ships. We don't want to get too close." The ship's computer started its work. Lights blinked on the control panel as the sensors reached out into space. Zixthala expected to see nothing, maybe some dead rocks floating around a dying star. That's what the report said she would find. But something was wrong. "Captain!" Court's voice was high and scared. "The sensors are picking up massive energy readings. There's something big out there." Zixthala moved to the main screen. What she saw made her heart stop beating for a moment. The scanner showed dozens of planets, all glowing with the heat of cities and factories. Space stations the size of moons floated between the worlds. Ships moved back and forth like busy insects. "This can't be right," she whispered. "Run the scan again." Court's hands shook as he worked the controls. The second scan showed the same thing. The third scan was even clearer. The system wasn't dead at all. It was more alive than most places in the galaxy. "Captain, I'm reading billions of life forms," Court said. "The energy output is bigger than the Confederation's home system. How is this possible?" Before Zixthala could answer, an alarm started ringing. 3 ships had appeared on their sensors. They were moving fast, much faster than any ship should be able to move. "Unknown vessel," a voice spoke in perfect galactic standard. The accent was strange, like nothing Zixthala had heard before. "You are in restricted space. Please identify yourself." Zixthala looked at Court. Restricted space? According to every map and record, this system belonged to no one. She pressed the communication button. "This is Commander Zixthala of the Confederation. Survey Corps. We are conducting a routine mapping mission. This system is listed as uninhabited in our records." There was a pause. Then the strange voice spoke again. "Commander, your records are incorrect. Please follow our ships to the receiving station. Any attempt to leave or resist will be considered hostile." The 3 ships moved closer. Zixthala could see them clearly now. They were beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. The metal was smooth and silver, and they moved like they were swimming through space instead of flying. The design was unlike anything in the Confederation database. "Sir, what should we do?" Court asked. His purple skin was now almost black with fear. Zixthala thought quickly. Her ship had weapons, but these strangers had appeared out of nowhere. Their technology was clearly better than hers. Fighting would be stupid. "We'll follow them," she decided. "But keep the emergency beacon ready. If something happens, the Confederation needs to know." The journey took 2 hours. As they got closer to the 4th planet, Zixthala saw things that made her question everything she knew. The planet was blue and green, covered with forests and oceans. Cities of glass and metal stretched across entire continents. But most amazing of all was the space station hanging above the planet. It was huge, bigger than any structure the Confederation had ever built. Parts of it spun slowly, creating artificial gravity. Docking bays could hold thousands of ships. Gardens and parks were visible through transparent walls. It looked like a city in space, home to millions of beings. "How long has this been here?" Zixthala asked herself. The escort ships guided them to a small docking bay. As the Silent Wind settled down, Zixthala saw figures waiting for them. They wore simple clothes and seemed to be expecting visitors. "Captain," Court said quietly, "I'm reading their biological signatures. These beings They match something in our historical database. What species? Zixthala asked. Court's voice was barely a whisper. Humans, sir. But that's impossible. Humans went extinct 300 years ago. Zixthala felt cold despite the warm air of the ship. Humans were legend. Stories told to young aliens about a race that had lived fast and died young. They were supposed to be primitive, violent, and long gone. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. A figure stepped forward. It was tall with pale skin and dark hair. Its eyes were blue like deep water. It smiled, showing white teeth. Welcome to Haven Station, the figure said in that same strange accent. I am David Chen, diplomatic coordinator for this system. We've been expecting you. Zixthala's translator worked perfectly, but she still couldn't believe what she was hearing. A living human was talking to her. You're human, she said, stating the obvious. David nodded. Yes, we are. I know this must be confusing. Your people believe we died out long ago. That was the plan. The plan? Zixthala stepped out of her ship, her security officer close behind her. It's a long story, David said. But we have time. Would you like to see what we've built here? I think you'll find it interesting. As they walked through the station, Zixthala saw wonders that defied explanation. Gardens grew in perfect spirals with plants from dozens of different worlds. The air was clean and fresh, better than most planets. Children played in parks that hung in space, protected only by invisible energy fields. The humans they passed looked healthy and happy. They wore simple clothes but carried devices that seemed far more advanced than anything the Confederation used. They nodded politely to Zixthala and her team, as if alien visitors were normal. How many of you are there? She asked David. In this system? About 12 billion, he replied casually. Across all our settlements, we're approaching 400 billion. Zixthala stopped walking. Settlements, plural? David smiled again. Oh yes. We didn't put all our eggs in one basket. We learned that lesson a long time ago. Would you like to contact your superiors? I'm sure they'll want to know about this. Standing in that impossible station, surrounded by a race that was supposed to be extinct, Zixthala realized that everything the galaxy thought it knew was wrong. The humans weren't dead. They had been hiding, growing and building something magnificent in the dark spaces between the stars. Her hands shook as she reached for her communication device. This message would change everything. The galaxy would never be the same once it learned the truth about humanity's survival. The extinct race had returned, and they were far more powerful than anyone could have imagined. David Chen led Commander Zixthala through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The walls showed pictures of space, but Zixthala realized they weren't pictures at all. They were windows looking out at real stars. The technology to make transparent metal this strong didn't exist in Confederation space. I know you have questions, David said as they walked. Everyone does when they find us. Let me start with the most important one. No, we never went extinct. We chose to disappear. They entered a large room with comfortable chairs arranged in a circle. David gestured for Zixthala to sit. A young human woman brought them drinks that tasted like nothing Zixthala had ever tried before. 300 years ago, David began, humanity was part of the galactic community. We had colonies on 17 worlds. We traded with dozens of species. We thought we were partners in a great civilization. Zixthala leaned forward. The records say humans were aggressive, that they started wars and caused problems. David laughed, but there was no humor in it. That's what we were supposed to believe about ourselves. The truth was different. We discovered that the elder races were using us. They would start conflicts between human colonies, then offer to help solve the problems they created. Each time, we accepted their help, we gave up a little more control. But why would they do that? Zixthala asked. Because humans are useful, David replied. We adapt quickly. We solve problems in ways other species don't think of. We breed fast and work hard. The perfect servants if you can control us. David stood up and walked to a wall display. With a wave of his hand, images appeared. They showed human colonies, human ships, and human cities. But in every picture, aliens were clearly in charge. We found the proof by accident, David continued. A human computer technician named Sarah Kim was fixing a Zenthari communication system. She discovered hidden files, messages between the elder races about the human problem and how to manage us. The images changed. Now they showed documents written in alien languages, with translations appearing below them. They called us productive primitives, David said. They had a 100-year plan to slowly reduce human independence. They wanted to turn us into a worker race, smart enough to be useful but never smart enough to be a threat. Zixthala read the translated documents. Her translator device struggled with some words, but the meaning was clear. The elder races had been planning to control humanity for generations. "What did you do when you found out?" she asked. "At first we wanted to fight," David said. "But we were outnumbered 1,000 to 1. A war would have ended badly for everyone, so our leaders came up with a different plan. Operation Exodus." New images appeared on the wall. They showed massive ships, bigger than anything Zixthala had ever seen. Thousands of them, all heading toward empty space. "We pretended to have a civil war," David explained. "Human fighting human, destroying our own colonies. It looked real because some of it was real. The hardest part was convincing millions of humans to leave everything behind." "But how did you hide entire populations?" Zixthala asked. David smiled. "Very carefully. We spent 50 years preparing. We built hidden shipyards and asteroid belts. We created false identities for our people. We even used genetic modification to make some humans look like other species." Zixthala thought about the aliens she had met over the years. How many of them had actually been humans in disguise? "The evacuation took 10 years, David continued. "We moved in small groups, always at night, always in secret. Meanwhile, our agents spread stories about human extinction. They created fake battlefields and false evidence. The galaxy wanted to believe we were gone, so they didn't look too closely. The wall display now showed star maps with dozens of systems marked in blue. We chose dead systems like this one," David said. "Places that other species had given up on. Places with dangerous reputations or hostile conditions. The perfect hiding spots." "But how did you survive in systems that couldn't support life?" Zixthala asked. "We changed the systems to support life," David replied simply. 300 years is a long time. We've learned to move planets, adjust orbits, and reshape entire solar systems. When you have enough time and no one watching you, amazing things become possible." Zixthala stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see ships the size of cities moving between space stations. Construction robots worked on new habitats. Everything moved with perfect order and efficiency. "What about the other species? Do they know?" she asked. "Some suspect," David admitted. But most believed the lie because it was convenient. A galaxy without humans was simpler for them to manage. They divided up our old territories and forgot about us. David joined her at the window. "We've been watching, though. Learning about galactic politics, technology, and culture. We have agents in every major government. Scientists, advisors, even some leaders are actually human." "That's impossible," Zixthala said. "Security systems would detect genetic differences." "Not if you know how to fool them," David said. "We've become very good at hiding in plain sight. Some of our people have been passing as aliens for their entire careers." Zixthala thought about her own government. How many of her colleagues might be human agents? The idea made her feel sick and impressed at the same time. "What do you want now?" she asked. "Why reveal yourselves?" David was quiet for a moment. "Because we're ready. 300 years of growth and development have made us strong enough to protect ourselves. We don't need to hide anymore." "Strong enough how?" David gestured to the window again. "This system produces more energy than your entire sector. Our smallest ships are faster and more powerful than your best battleships. We've solved problems that the galaxy considers impossible." "Such as?" "Death," David said simply. "Disease, hunger, war, resource scarcity, environmental destruction. We've eliminated these problems from human society. Zixthala stared at him. You've solved death? Not eliminated it entirely, David clarified. But we've extended human lifespans to over 300 years. Genetic diseases don't exist anymore. Accidents can be repaired, old age is reversible. The implications hit Zixthala like a physical blow. If humans had truly solved these problems, their technology was beyond anything she could imagine. The galaxy is sick, David continued. Species fighting over resources that could be infinite. Billions dying from diseases we cured centuries ago. Entire worlds destroyed by wars that serve no purpose except to enrich the elder races. And you want to fix it? We want to offer an alternative, David said. Join us willingly and share in what we've built. Refuse, and watch the rest of the galaxy move forward without you. Zixthala realized she was witnessing a moment that would change history. The return of humanity wouldn't just affect politics or economics. It would reshape everything about galactic civilization. What happens next? She asked. David smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. You tell your superiors what you've seen here. They'll make the same choice everyone will have to make. Adapt to the new reality, or become irrelevant. Looking out at the impossible wonders of human engineering, Zixthala knew the choice was already made. The galaxy just didn't know it yet. David Chen led Commander Zixthala to an observation deck that stretched across the entire length of the space station. Through the transparent walls, she could see the fourth planet rotating slowly below them. But something was wrong with what she was seeing. That planet, she said, pointing. It's moving. David nodded. We adjusted its orbit last month. It was getting too much radiation from the star, so we moved it 3 million kilometers further out. The operation took about 6 days. Zixthala's legs felt weak. You moved an entire planet? It's not that difficult once you understand gravity manipulation, David replied casually. We have installations throughout the system that can adjust gravitational fields. Moving planets is actually easier than moving asteroids because planets have more mass to work with. Through the walls, Zixthala could see massive structures floating in space between the planets. They looked like metal flowers with thousands of petals, each one the size of a moon. What are those? She asked. Stellar collectors, David explained. They harvest energy directly from the star. Each one produces more power than your entire homeworld uses in a year. We have 47 of them in this system alone. Zixthala tried to do the math in her head, but the numbers were too big. That's impossible. No civilization uses that much energy. We do, David said simply. When you can reshape matter at the atomic level, energy becomes the only real resource, and stars have plenty of energy to spare. A young human man approached them. He wore the same simple clothes as everyone else, but carried a device that looked like nothing Zixthala had ever seen. David, the council is ready for the demonstration, the man said. Good timing, David replied. He turned to Zixthala. Would you like to see what human technology can really do? They moved to a control room where dozens of humans worked at stations that seemed to respond to thought rather than touch. Displays showed star maps of the entire galaxy. Red dots marked major alien military installations, trade routes, and government centers. For 300 years we've been watching and learning, David said. We know the location of every Confederation ship, every defense platform, and every communication relay. Admiral Sarah Walsh, a tall woman with gray hair, stepped forward. Commander Zixthala, we're going to show you something that will help your leaders understand our capabilities. We're going to temporarily disable the defense grid of 3 major worlds. That's impossible, Zixthala protested. Those systems are thousands of light years away. Distance doesn't matter when you can fold space, Sarah replied. She nodded. To the technicians. On the main display, 3 worlds appeared. Zixthala recognized them immediately. Zenthar Prime, the military capital of the eastern sector, New Alturia, home to the Confederation's largest shipyards. And Kivara, the heavily defended trade center. Beginning Phase 1, a technician announced. Lights began flickering on the displays. Numbers scrolled past too fast to read. Then suddenly, everything stopped. Defense grids offline, the technician reported. All three worlds show zero defensive capability. Zixthala stared at the displays. You just shut down the most protected worlds in the galaxy. From here, instantly. We're not attacking them, Sarah clarified. We're just showing that we could if we wanted to. Their shields are down, their weapons are offline, and their communication systems aren't working. But no one is hurt. How was all Zixthala could manage. David pointed to a strange device at the center of the control room. It looked like a sphere made of liquid metal, floating in a cage of energy. Quantum entanglement communication, he explained. We can send signals anywhere in the galaxy instantly. More importantly, we can send controlled electromagnetic pulses that disable electronics without harming living beings. We placed quantum transmitters near major installations decades ago, Sarah added. Your security never detected them because they exist in folded space, invisible and untouchable until we choose to use them. The demonstration continued. The humans showed they could track every ship movement in real time. They displayed the exact location of secret military bases that weren't supposed to exist. They even showed video feeds from inside government buildings on worlds hundreds of light years away. This is what 300 years of uninterrupted development looks like, David said. While the galaxy was playing politics and fighting over resources, we were solving the fundamental problems of physics and engineering. Zixthala watched as the humans demonstrated their ability to create matter from energy. A technician placed a small device on a table and activated it. The device hummed for a moment, then produced a perfect crystal the size of Zixthala's fist. Pure diamond, the technician explained. We assembled it atom by atom from basic elements. We can create any material we need, in any quantity. Another demonstration showed their manufacturing capabilities. In a factory visible through the station's windows, automated systems were building a ship larger than anything in the Confederation fleet. The entire construction process took less than an hour. We can build a fleet of 1,000 ships in a single day, Sarah said, each one more advanced than your best designs. But the most impressive demonstration came when they showed their defensive capabilities. The humans projected a holographic map of the entire solar system. Thousands of tiny lights showed the locations of defense platforms, automated weapon systems, and shield generators. If anyone attacks this system, they would face coordinated resistance from 12,000 defensive installations, David explained, each one capable of destroying a battleship. The installations can also link together to create system-wide shields that no known weapon can penetrate. But that's not the most important part, Sarah added. She gestured to the hologram and new lights appeared. Millions of them, scattered throughout the galaxy. We have similar installations in 47 systems, she said. Each system can defend itself and assist the others. An attack on any human settlement would face resistance from all of them. Zixthala realized she was looking at a military force that could overwhelm the entire galaxy without effort. The humans had built not just a hidden civilization, but a hidden empire. The Confederation has 3 million ships, she said weakly. Surely that counts for something. David looked sad. Your ships are impressive by current standards, but they're also predictable. We've studied their designs for decades. We know their weaknesses, their capabilities, and their tactics. In a direct confrontation, the entire Confederation fleet would last about 6 hours. We're not interested in conquest through war, Sarah clarified quickly. We're showing you this so you understand that resistance is pointless. We're offering partnership, not domination. The technicians restored power to the 3 worlds they had disabled. Within minutes, confused reports started coming in from across the galaxy. Military commanders couldn't explain what had happened. Scientists insisted that simultaneous system failures on that scale were impossible. Your leaders will receive reports about today's demonstration within hours, David said. They'll spend days trying to figure out what happened. Let them know it was just a small sample of human capabilities. Zixthala looked around the control room. The humans worked with calm efficiency, as if temporarily disabling half the galaxy's defenses was routine business. What do you want from us? She asked. A conversation, David replied. Send your best diplomats, your smartest scientists, and your most open-minded leaders. We have a lot to discuss. Standing in that impossible room, surrounded by technology that seemed like magic, Zixthala knew the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted forever. The humans weren't asking for permission to rejoin Galactic Society. They were announcing that Galactic Society would now operate by their rules. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going for 6 hours. Representatives from 200 species filled the Great Chamber on Confederation Prime. The air recyclers worked overtime to handle the mixture of different atmospheric needs. Translator systems struggled to keep up with dozens of languages being spoken at once. High Chancellor Vex Mora, an ancient Altruian whose blue skin had faded to pale gray with age, called for order. Her voice echoed through the chamber as the crowd slowly quieted. "We have all read Commander Zixthala's report," she began. "We have all seen the recordings. The question before us is simple. How do we respond to the return of humanity?" Senator Krathel of the Zephyrian Empire stood up. His red scales gleamed under the chamber lights as he spoke with barely controlled anger. "Return?" he roared. "These creatures have been deceiving us for 3 centuries. They have agents in our governments, spies in our military, and we never knew. This is not a return. This is an invasion that has already succeeded." Murmurs of agreement came from several delegations. The Thorian representative, an insect-like being with 6 arms, clicked his mandibles nervously. "Senator Krathel speaks truth," the Thorian said. "How many of our secrets do they know? How many of our decisions have been influenced by their hidden agents?" Admiral Zentok, the Council's military advisor, activated a holographic display. It showed the 3 worlds that had been temporarily disabled during the human demonstration. "The technical analysis is complete," he announced. "Every defense system on these worlds was shut down simultaneously. No known technology can do this. The humans reached across thousands of light years and disabled our most secure installations without firing a shot." A Minion delegate, her crystalline body reflecting rainbow colors, spoke in a voice like tinkling bells. "But they restored power within hours. They could have destroyed those worlds but chose not to. Perhaps their intentions are peaceful." "Senator," Krathel slammed his clawed hand on his desk. "Or perhaps they want us to believe they are peaceful while they prepare to enslave us all." High Chancellor Vex Mora raised her hand for silence. "We have received a formal communication from the humans. They wish to send representatives to discuss what they call galactic cooperation. They claim to offer technology sharing and mutual assistance." "A trap," Krathel muttered. Dr. Yila Sarm, the Council's chief scientist, stood to speak. Her small gray form looked fragile next to the larger delegates, but her voice was strong. "I have spent my career studying impossible things," she said. "The technology demonstrated by these humans is beyond impossible. They are manipulating matter and energy in ways our best theories say cannot be done. If they truly wish to share this knowledge, they are offering us trinkets to make us compliant." Krathel interrupted. "The elder races made this mistake 300 years ago. They thought humans were useful servants. Now we see what happens when you underestimate them." Ambassador Tayana of the peaceful Valoran Federation stood gracefully. Her people had never been involved in warfare, preferring diplomacy and trade. "Perhaps that is exactly why we should talk to them," she said calmly. "Our ancestors made mistakes in their dealings with humanity. We should not repeat those mistakes by responding with fear and anger." "Fear?" Krathel laughed bitterly. "Fear is appropriate when facing an enemy that can shut down our defenses from across the galaxy. Fear keeps us alive." The debate continued for hours. Some species wanted immediate military action. Others called for careful diplomacy. A few suggested simply pretending the humans didn't exist and hoping they would go away. Meanwhile, on Zenthar Prime, General Moxtar was dealing with his own crisis. The planet's defense grid failure had caused panic throughout the military. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock trying to understand what had happened. "General," his aide reported, "we found something strange in the defense network's code." Moxtar followed the aide to a computer terminal. Lines of code scrolled across the screen, but some sections were highlighted in red. These subroutines were not in the original programming, the aide explained. They appear to have been added, gradually over many years. When activated, they create systematic shutdown of all connected systems. How long have they been there? Moxtar asked. Based on the code structure, we estimate 20 to 30 years. They were inserted so gradually that our security systems never noticed. Moxtar stared at the screen. 30 years of infiltration. The humans had been planning this demonstration for decades, maybe longer. Can we remove these hidden programs? He asked. The aide shook his head. They're integrated into the base code. Removing them would require rebuilding the entire defense network from scratch. It would take years and cost billions of credits. On New Alturia, similar discoveries were being made. Human infiltration went far beyond simple spy programs. Ship designs had been subtly influenced. Trade agreements had been guided by advisors who were secretly human. Even scientific research had been directed along paths that humans found useful. Director Kelnara of the Altruian Science Institute stood in her laboratory, surrounded by reports from across the galaxy. Each report told the same story. Human. Influence everywhere, hidden but pervasive. How did we miss this? She asked her assistant, a young researcher named Biltak. Because they didn't want us to see it, Biltak replied. Look at this pattern analysis. Every major scientific breakthrough in the last 50 years had at least one researcher who fit the human genetic profile. But they used identity modification technology to pass as other species. Kelnara picked up a report about gravitic technology. This research that led to our current faster-than-light drives. The lead scientist was Dr. Vix Alto, a renowned Minion physicist, who died in a transport accident 5 years ago, Biltak added. But computer records show he continued publishing papers for 6 months after his death. A human agent taking over his identity, Kelnara realized. They've been guiding our technological development for decades. Back on Confederation Prime, the council session was becoming heated. Several delegates had walked out in anger. Others demanded immediate action against human settlements. High Chancellor Vexamora called for a brief recess. In the private chambers, reserved for senior officials, she met with her closest advisors. What are our real options? She asked Admiral Zentok. The Admiral's expression was grim. Military action would be suicide. Their demonstration made it clear that they can disable our defenses at will. A war would be over before it began. What about economic pressure? Asked Trade Minister Failovar. They don't need our trade, the Admiral replied. According to Zixthala's report, they can manufacture anything they need from basic elements. They're completely self-sufficient. Then what do they want from us? Vexamora asked. Dr. Sarm spoke quietly. I think they want to reshape galactic civilization. Their technology could solve most of the problems that cause conflicts between species, resource scarcity, territorial disputes, even biological incompatibilities could become irrelevant. Under their control, the High Chancellor said. Perhaps, Dr. Sarm agreed. But what if their control is better than our current chaos? The meeting was interrupted by an urgent communication. Zixthala's face appeared on the screen, calling from the human space station. High Chancellor, the humans have made a formal request. They want to send a delegation to Confederation Prime. They say they're ready to discuss the future of galactic civilization. Vexmora looked around the room at her advisors. Each face showed a different emotion. Fear, curiosity, anger, hope. When do they want to arrive? She asked. Tomorrow, Zixthala replied. Tomorrow. After 300 years of hiding, the humans were ready to step back onto the galactic stage. But this time, they wouldn't be joining as equals. They would be arriving as the new dominant power. The age of elder race control was ending. The age of humanity was about to begin. The human ship appeared in orbit around Confederation Prime without any warning. One moment the sensors showed empty space. The next moment, a vessel the size of a small moon hung above the planet. It hadn't traveled through normal space or used any kind of drive that the monitoring stations could detect. It had simply appeared. High Chancellor Vex Mora stood in the orbital platform's observation deck, watching the impossible ship through reinforced windows. Its surface was smooth and silver, covered with patterns that seemed to shift and change as she looked at them. No energy signatures, Admiral Zentitok reported. No radiation, no heat, no electromagnetic activity. It's like looking at a hole, in space shaped like a ship. How many beings are aboard? Vex Mora asked. Unknown. Our sensors can't penetrate their hull. The communication system activated without anyone touching the controls. A calm human voice filled the chamber. High Chancellor Vex Mora, this is Captain Elena Vasquez of the human diplomatic vessel New Dawn. We request permission to dock and begin discussions. Vex Mora looked at her advisors. They had spent all night preparing for this moment. But she still felt completely unprepared. Permission granted, Captain Vasquez. Bay 7 is ready for your arrival. Thank you, High Chancellor. We'll be there in 10 minutes. The human shuttle was as strange as their ship. It moved through space like it was gliding through water, making no sound and leaving no trail. When it landed in the docking bay, it settled so gently that the station's sensors barely registered the contact. Vex Mora waited in the main diplomatic hall with representatives from 12 major species. Security guards stood at attention, though. Everyone knew they would be useless if the humans decided to be hostile. The airlock opened and 5 humans walked into the chamber. They wore simple dark clothing and carried no visible weapons. Their leader was a tall woman with brown skin and short black hair. She moved with confident grace and smiled like she was meeting old friends. High Chancellor Vex Mora, the woman said, extending her hand in the human greeting gesture. I'm Captain Elena Vasquez. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Vex Mora hesitated, then reached out to shake the human's hand. The contact was warm and firm, just like touching any other being. Captain Vasquez, she replied. Your arrival has created quite a stir. We have many questions. I'm sure you do, Elena said. We've brought some answers and some proposals. The humans took their seats at the circular table. Elena activated a small device, and suddenly, the air above the table filled with 3-dimensional images. Let me start with what we're offering, Elena said. The images showed medical devices, manufacturing equipment, and energy systems. Technology to eliminate disease, poverty, and resource conflicts throughout the galaxy. Senator Krathel, who had demanded the right to attend the meeting, slammed his hand on the table. And what do you want in return? Control over all of us? Elena looked at him calmly. We want the galaxy to stop being stupid. The blunt statement surprised everyone. Elena continued without giving anyone time to respond. For the past 1,000 years, galactic civilization has been trapped in cycles of conflict and waste. Species fighting over resources that could be infinite. Billions dying from problems we solved centuries ago. Entire worlds destroyed for the profit of a few elder races. Dr. Sarm leaned forward. You mentioned eliminating disease. How? One of Elena's companions, a young man with pale skin and bright blue eyes, spoke for the first time. Genetic repair at the cellular level. We can fix any genetic disorder, reverse aging, and prevent all known diseases. Average lifespan for any species can be extended to over 300 years. Impossible, Dr. Sarm breathed. Dr. Sarm, Elena said, you published a paper last year about the theoretical limits of genetic modification. The calculations were brilliant, but based on incomplete understanding of quantum biology. We'd be happy to show you where the breakthrough comes from. Dr. Sarm stared at her. You read my work? We read everything, Elena replied. We've been watching galactic scientific progress for 3 centuries. Most of your research is heading in the right direction, just very slowly. Ambassador Tayana of the Valoran Federation spoke carefully. What exactly are you proposing? Elena gestured, and the images above the table changed. Now they showed star maps with different colored zones. We're proposing the Terran Compact, she said. A new form of galactic government based on cooperation, rather than competition. Species that join the Compact get access to our technology and protection, Those that don't, well, they're free to continue as they are. And what happens if we refuse? Krathul demanded. Nothing happens to you directly, Elena replied. But the species that do join us will become more advanced, more prosperous, and more powerful. Eventually, you'll become irrelevant. The room fell silent. The threat was delivered so casually that it took a moment for everyone to understand it. You're talking about the end of the current galactic order, High Chancellor Vexmora said. Yes, Elena agreed. The current order is broken. It serves the interests of a few elder races while billions suffer. We're offering something better. Admiral Zentotok activated his own display device. What about our military forces, our defenses? Elena smiled. Admiral, yesterday we shut down the 3 most secure installations in the galaxy just to prove we could. Your military exists only because we allow it to exist. We're not interested in conquering you through force. We'd rather have you join us willingly. And if the elder races resist? Dr. Sarm asked. Elena's expression became serious. Then they'll discover that 300 years of advanced development has consequences. The human ship in orbit suddenly became visible to all sensors. Energy readings spiked off the scale. The ship's surface began to glow with patterns of light that hurt to look at directly. What's happening? Admiral Zentotok demanded. We're showing you what resistance looks like, Elena said calmly. She gestured again, and new images appeared above the table. The images showed the Zephyrian Empire's home system, dozens of military installations hung in space around the homeworld. As they watched one by one, the installations simply vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged. They just stopped existing. We removed them to a pocket dimension, Elena explained. Everyone aboard is safe, but the installations are no longer in normal space. We can bring them back whenever we choose. Krathul's red scales had turned pale orange. You just eliminated our entire home defense fleet. Temporarily, Elena corrected. This is a demonstration, not an attack, but it shows what happens to species that choose to fight us instead of joining us. The demonstration lasted exactly 10 minutes. Then the missing installations reappeared, completely undamaged. But the message was clear. Human technology was so advanced that resistance was meaningless. What do you want us to do? High Chancellor Vexmora asked. Start with the easy things, Elena replied. End resource conflicts by accepting our manufacturing technology. Eliminate territorial disputes by sharing colony worlds. Stop the trade wars that enrich the elder races while impoverishing everyone else. And then? Then we help you build a civilization worthy of the galaxy's potential, Elena said. Clean energy for every world. Medical technology that eliminates suffering. Space habitats that can house trillions of beings. Art, science, and culture that flourishes without fear of war or want. Ambassador Teana looked thoughtful. The Valoran Federation would be interested in such an arrangement. Our people have always preferred cooperation to conflict. Dr. Sarm nodded. The potential for scientific advancement alone makes this worthwhile. How quickly could we begin technology transfer? Immediately, Elena replied. We have engineer ships ready to begin upgrading infrastructure on any world that joins the compact. Over the next 6 hours, the debate continued. Some species representatives were eager to join immediately. Others demanded more information. A few, led by Senator Krathul, insisted on resistance. By the end of the day, 17 species had signed preliminary agreements to join the Terran Compact. 5 more requested additional time to consult with their governments. Only 3 species, including the Zephyrian Empire, rejected the offer entirely. Elena stood as the meeting concluded. High Chancellor, this is just the beginning. Within a year, the galaxy will be transformed. Those who join us will prosper beyond their wildest dreams. Those who don't, well, we hope they'll reconsider. As the humans prepared to leave, Dr. Sarm approached Elena. Captain, you mentioned that our scientific research was heading in the right direction just slowly. How far ahead of us are you? Elena paused at the airlock door. Dr. Sarm, we're not just ahead of you. We're operating on entirely different principles of reality. What you call impossible, we call Tuesday morning. The human shuttle departed, as silently as it had arrived. Their ship vanished from orbit without any trace, leaving only changed forever politicians and a galaxy that would never be the same. Within weeks, the first compact worlds began receiving human technology. Disease disappeared overnight. Poverty became a historical curiosity. Energy became free and unlimited. The elder races found their power and influence evaporating as younger species embraced the new order. Some adapted and joined the compact. Others tried to resist and discovered that resistance against humanity was not just futile but irrelevant.